अच्छा आपको चुनना है.
Hi Shabana ji, hi Anu, and hi Vidya.
How sweet.
So I've been asked to ask Vidya a question that I had for her, which is strange because most people would wonder why I'm not asking her that directly in the first place. But when Anu asks you to do something, you do it. So here's the question. Vidya, when you're playing a role and you're in the midst of shoot, are there times when you're transferring that same character into your real life dynamics and relationships? I ask this obviously out of personal interest. Thank you.
Personal security.
I'm not a trained actor, so I don't have,
Switch on, switch off.
Yeah, and I don't have a process. I have my own process. So now I think I'm a little better at distancing myself from what I'm doing. But I think in the first few years of our marriage, he must have found it tough, because I was probably carrying it back home unknowingly. Because previously, even if I carried it back home, my poor parents,
Yeah.
they would just deal with it. But it tends to happen because I don't know where to say, okay, I'm not this person, or I'm not in this situation, or I'm not going through this.
Yeah, but that's why it's very comforting to be married to men in the same profession. Because they understand. Imagine if you were a scientist's wife or something like that, it would be almost impossible because we are used to cushioning each other's moments of creativity, right?
That's true. But since you're a trained actor, and of course you've got such a body of experience, but is that something that you've always managed to do, just switch on and switch off? Or?
Not at all.
No?
Not at all. I have had moments stay with me. I have had my inside out churned and come home completely destroyed and experienced all of that. And in Javed's case, as I also watched my father with my mother, there is great support. It's not this attitude कि अच्छा actress होगी अपने घर पे, actress होगी studio में, here you better behave according to that. There's a lot of cushioning that happens, which is beautiful, which is important.
But I must go back home and ask Siddharth, which moments was he referring to?
But shall I tell you something about Javed, which is really awful, was that when I was prepping for Makri, I play a witch in the film. So I realized that a lot of the struggle would be actually to get an interesting character, the image. So we were doing all kinds of different things with makeup and all that. And so Javed came into the house and he said, she's playing a witch, isn't she? He said, yes. He said, why bother with the makeup? Just go as she is. I said, thank you, Adab. Thank you very much. But he says it's very interesting. क्योंकि एक दिन मेरी बीवी जो है वो क्वीन की तरह बिहेव कर रही है, एक दिन वो विच की तरह से बिहेव कर, एक दिन स्लम ड्वेलर की तरह, तो I'm married to lots of women.
It's always exciting.
Different characters.
I wanted to ask you about Fire. How was that? You know, because before that we'd never seen a lesbian relationship on screen in Indian cinema.
You know, the thing was that right in the beginning, I think on the second day of rehearsals, Deepa just put us into bed, Nandita and I, and she said, do this scene. And it was something that we didn't want to do at all. So sort of Nandita started touching my face. So Deepa shouts from there and says, I'm not asking you to brush her teeth. I'm asking you to kiss her on the mouth. And we said, oh, let's go and do it. So after that, but when we shot the scene, there was in camera, everybody had been left, all of that. And it was awkward. It was definitely awkward. But Javed's observation is there's another film that I've done, an English film, Jameel Dehlvi's Immaculate Conception.
Yeah, I've seen that.
In which I have a kissing scene with James Wilby. And Javed said, you looked really uncomfortable in that scene. Magar Nandita Das ke saath to bahut aaram se. But awkward.
But what about these intimate scenes? You know, have you...
In the earlier days, I used to find it very awkward. You know, Vinod Khanna was a very big star. And I had only just started my career and I was working in a film called Shak. And what happened is before Vinod came on the set, they were a husband and wife duo, Aruna Vikas. So they acted out the scene to me. We both wake up in the morning. And it was physically so intimate. I was completely petrified. And I said, oh my God, how am I going to do the scene? And my heart was beating really fast. And I will always thank Vinod Khanna for it because he realized that I was very tense. And Vidya, instead of telling me, don't worry, it's only a movie, there's nothing to get scared, which would have made me even more self-conscious. All he did is while we were doing the rehearsals, he put his arm over me and then he said, but if I'm putting my arm over her, am I covering her face entirely or should I put it? And I said,
you
oh,
realized
ये सब तो इतना technical है, इसमें तो कोई... I just love him and I'm grateful to him forever and ever for sensing that, and instead of making it a big deal in front of everybody, he just made it so comfortable.
I must tell you, Shak, that scene was probably the first intimate stroke lovemaking scene that I saw on screen.
Vidya?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, dekhti thi tum.
But, I think it was being shown on Doordarshan or something. We were all sitting and watching it. I couldn't stop giggling because I was, I'd never seen anything like that. I just thought that I ran out of the room laughing, and obviously in those days, if there was any scene like that, my parents would just
immediately fast forward it,
change
channels.
But I so clearly remember that scene, and it's amazing you brought it up today. But since you mentioned Vinod Khanna, in Parinita, my first film, I had a scene with Sanjay Dutt. And I had to be on top. And Dada, Pradeep Sarkar is a kind of director who'll, and half Bengali, half Hindi mein, he'll say, "Arey, you've never done anything or what?" And
oh God.
Because I was so nervous, and Dada would speak to me like, I was this little kid. So I was literally shitting bricks. And Sanjay Dutt came on set and he realized. So he actually began to act like he was nervous. When I saw this tall, broad, big guy,
so sweet,
Sanjay Dutt, who's fought so many goons in films, suddenly being nervous and, being shy and all that, I said, "Arey, ye to bhai haath ka khel hai."
How wonderful.
And later, I realized that he's done this enough and more. And after that, he told me, of course, once we finished the scene, he told me instances of other shoots. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he was just, I'll never forget that. I thought it was so sweet and sensitive of him. He was saying, "Dada, main kaise karunga? Dada, mere se nahi hoga." And, I kept looking at him and saying, really, he's so nervous. I'm better off than him. I'll always remember that. Let's see what this has.
Hello, Shabana, this is Javed. Here is a question for you. You're an actor, and beside being an actor, you're also an activist with very strong value system. Your dislikes and likes, your approval and disapproval are very, very clear. So suppose there is a kind of a conflict between two facets of your life, an actor, an activist. What would you do? I mean, there is a role which is extremely dramatic, wonderful for an actor, challenge for any actor, but it is not politically right. Maybe it glorifies sati, but it's a dramatic role. It has great moments. As an actor, we can't look at these scenes, I suppose, morally. If totally, objectively looking at it as an actor, the role is very attractive. Looking at the same role as an activist, it is against your principles. What would you do?
It's an extremely hard choice because, in the face of a role that offers you far more possibility than normal, you do get attracted to that. But ultimately, what is it saying? Supposing I were to play a woman who is so subservient that by the end of the film, you feel the audience feels no woman should have to go through that. Then I would be willing to play it.
Right.
But if it says that in subservience lies the woman's destiny, that I would not do. And that is a character that I would never find attractive. at all. I would not be envious of a character who did that. But let me give you an example of what Javed's talking about. When I did Godmother, I was really pleased with the part because she had so many different shades and all that. And then when the film was shown, a lot of feminists got really angry with me, and I consider myself a feminist. And they said, but you're showing her as a corrupt politician. And here we are saying that more women need to get into the system. And if they're going to be as corrupt as the men, how is that going to change? I said, but you're looking at it through the lens of feminism. That's not where the director is looking at it from. The director is looking at how community becomes a stranglehold on a person. Caste dominates you in such a way that in belonging to your caste, you are willing to do a lot of injustice to other castes. That's the lens through which he is looking. So you cannot tell me that this doesn't further this particular cause. The kind of other moments, and then finally the woman does make the correct choice. She goes through being corrupt and all of that, but then finally she emerges from it triumph.
But I think what you're saying is so amazing, because today more than ever, people are so quick to judge, you know. There's almost, they get very moralistic about everything. And I feel that you can't just see a story through that lens of morality.
You know, मेरे साथ जो है, because I've studied acting and I've studied the Stanislavski method. And Stanislavski used to say that you should be able to prefix the words, if I were. Mother Teresa, street walker, a queen, a beggar, anybody, and you should. And an actor should be like water, you know, fit into the receptacle and take on that shape. So that is my training. But I have a political point of view, and that does come in the way of the choices that I make, which is fine. I'm fine to be giving up certain films because of that. But what is even more problematic than that is Aparna Sen, who's a friend of mine for many years. At one point, she said, Shabana, your off-screen persona is becoming, is becoming so strong that I would hesitate to cast you as a woman who is submissive and has to overthrow. Because the minute I put you in the film, the audience will know that interval ke baad ye change hi hone wala hai. Now that set me thinking. When she said that, I said, that shouldn't happen.
No, I agree with, I feel the same way, but I keep asking myself this question, you know, to what extent? Because naturally, we end up choosing things that, I guess, speak to us.
Yeah.
And speak to us because they're an extension of our, maybe, you know, mind state, beliefs, values, morality, whatever. Sometimes I feel like, are we becoming too... The kind of reactions that you're getting today from people to anything that is put out there, I just feel like, are we really becoming freer, or are we limiting ourselves? Because I'm saying you have the right to put out what you want. I have the right to reject it.
Sure.
You know, but the way the rejection is happening, it's almost like, just shut your trap.
Actually, Javed asked me a very serious question. I thought he was going to... I was pretty certain that the question he would ask is, Shabana, why don't you carry your mobile phone if it is immobile all the time? That's what I thought he was going to say, but he asked a serious question.